to give a small introduction of Sonali before she starts. So Sonali is a chemistry graduate from Mumbai University. She has also done a diploma in special education for the deaf blind. She has worked 16 long years in the corporate field in the financial service sector, heading a foreign exchange department at Centrum Direct Limited. And slowly she moved away from the corporate world, and currently she's working with Helen Keller Institute for Deaf and Deaf Blind as manager communication. She's heading the Braille Press department for managing differently abled co-workers who are running the show themselves. And this department is under the empowerment of PWD. She has a great passion for taking care of children with special needs, and that's how she's spending her time. I've had the good fortune of watching her at work many times, and she's like very ably handling the whole show there. And the purpose of this session is for us to uh, understand how we can bring in a culture of handling employees with special needs, how we can look at CSR responsibilities as corporate governance, and also hear whatever input Sonali can give us. So over to you, Sonali.
Thank you so much, Vinod. And first of all, let me thank you for giving me an opportunity to be a part of this present. And well, I would like to start about Helen Keller and the topic itself. Like if we say it's 1 hour is really very less. But then what I have done is I have just shortlisted the RPWD thing, which is particularly concerned to only with the corporate sector, because otherwise it becomes too technical and sometimes it becomes too boring also. So I don't want to bore you all in the first session itself. So that's how we have divided it in 3 parts, introduction of HKI. We would like to tell little about my institution, and more than the institution, how exactly does it function, because there we will have to highlight about how we have to deal with persons with disabilities. Then second comes the part of the RPWD Act 2016, which is also known as the Right of Persons with Disabilities Act, which was in 2016. It has come in a very elaborated way, and which has been implemented by our Honorable Prime Minister now, with the new inclusivity and the inclusion policies coming in, everything right from the education policy, also IEP. And then later on, I'll go to a short discussion about the work etiquettes, like at the corporate level, how you have to deal with people who are persons with disability. So we can call this entire session as a slight sensitization session, wherein you get to understand more about persons with disabilities. I believe the medium of this session, if it is required to be in Hindi, English, both, I'm okay with it. Is English okay, Vinod?
Yes, English is okay. English is fine.
Okay, fine. Because I can converse in English, Hindi, Marathi, all three together. So no worries. But if English is okay, we are good to go. So let me start sharing. Is the PPT visible?
Yes.
Yes, Sonali, you can go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. Well, so that's Helen Keller Institute for Deaf and Deaf Blind. We are placed at Ghansoli, Mahape, that is the TTC industrial area. This building was built by Aditya Birla under their CSR activities. So hence this school is named as Aditya Birla Center as well. Then towards a better tomorrow, these are some pictures of our little ones, the stars, whom we say that, the beneficiaries as well. This term I would be using quite a few times. So kindly remember that the beneficiaries are none other than our beautiful stars, our kids. So starting with Helen Keller, it is Mrs. Barrows Vacha, if you could see in the slide, who was our founder, director, and she, along with just two other teachers, in 1977, with two teachers, two deaf-blind children, one deaf child, with just rupees 150 in the home of one of the teachers, is how she started for students with deaf blindness. Deaf blindness is a very rare and very unique disability which impacts a lot on the total communication of a person. You might have heard about people with visual impairment. You might have heard people with hearing impairment or maybe locomotor disability or cerebral palsy. But when it comes to deaf blindness, deaf blind term together is a very lethal combination, because there a person cannot, neither can he see nor can he hear. So hence he cannot even speak. So she was the one, she was a visionary woman, and she had a passion to work for children with disability. She is a President Award winner, and we are the Pioneer Institute. I'm very proud to say that we are the Pioneer Institute who have done lot of development of children with disabilities, and we are the Pioneer Institute in the whole of Southeast Asia. What is the vision and mission, of course? So the vision to be a pioneer NGO working in India, which we are, for the betterment of children and youth who are deaf, deaf-blind, and with additional disabilities, by providing them with unconditional love, care, and guidance, equipping them with education and vocational training to lead a dignified life. Nothing great than giving them love and some understanding and care. There's nothing other than that which is required. No, some great degrees would do. Of course, we do a diploma in special education because there is a different way of dealing with these children, and that makes us more sensitive towards them. And none of the children, none of the adults who are differently able need our sympathy. They just need empathy. An empathetic approach really helps. And the mission, of course, is because no one is incapable of being taught. So they all deserve education. It might be in different ways. In the next slides, you'll come to know how it is different. So learning is not just academics. Learning is about having having to make them learn about their daily living activities. Like even if they can get up and just brush on their own, and if they can learn, that's a great learning for us. Need of our beneficiaries. This is too technical. I would just want to run through it, or maybe we can skip this slide because it's basically too much of a technical term where we need to tell about how exactly do we plan for their teaching and their sessions. So overall, in a nutshell, if I talk about this slide, it's like, how do we have different kind of strategies to teach them in the area of orientation and mobility, because they don't understand, they don't have conceptualization, they have not seen the world, so they don't have any body imagery. So there are various things. So hence we need a very, very holistic approach, and we need to give them opportunities to learn. And the most important thing is patience in this field, because time and again, you might see, if you come to our institution, I am sure Vinod might agree to me that they must have seen that, a single thing is repeated umpteenth number of time, because you have to keep doing that until and unless the child doesn't understand or probably grasp it. So, it's really what we say, that it's a tapestry of the life of these children that we daily get into. These are a few pictures of some of the activities that are done, like there's some pottery, there is always some kind of gardening nursery that is done. There is a physiotherapy and occupational therapy, because these are all the needs of our beneficiaries, because without that, they really cannot, function well. So this is a type of learning, and this is a kind of living through which there is a lot of enjoyment. Otherwise, वो भी boring ho jayega, like learning will be boring. Like now I really feel that I once want to see the videos on maybe for a minute or so, because currently I'm not knowing whom I'm talking to and whether y'all are really understanding what I'm talking about. So if I could just request the participants to just put a video for a minute. Vinod, I have seen you. Because, at times then you feel that because we are so much into communication, though our children cannot talk or what, but there is a communication, there is sign language, there is braille, there's a lot of things. So, okay. I need to see if people are awake. Oh, fair enough. So these are some other braille, the braille slate. This is how, swimming, there is a aqua therapy, which is very, very important. Areas of intervention, we have intervention right from the age of 0, like from 0 to 6, we have early intervention. Then we have from the age of 6 to 12, there is early intervention class 2. From 12 onwards, that's a transitional group. Because of the age group, we call that group as transitional or pre-vocational. And the last is the vocational group, where we have all adults who are cognitively too challenged and overall too challenged. Hence, we have to prepare them for a dignified life, and hence we train them for something called as like the candle making, the chocolate making, or the bakeries. And these are severely challenged children. And we also have an academic group where they can learn, and they have appeared for the 10th exams also. We have the National Institute for the Open School. So through NIOS also, our children appear in these exams and they can go ahead with the further education. Then comes other services, which include therapy, pottery, counseling, and residential facilities are there. Then we also have a 2-year diploma course, which I myself had did from this institute before joining, because I was a layman in this industry. I had come from corporate sector. So we have a 2-year diploma in education, which is done by, which is under the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment and by the Rehabilitation Council of India. And this teacher training center has completed 24 years now. I've not changed. It's 24 years. So next year is going to be the silver jubilee. And we have trainees who come from all over India and also from Southeast Asia. We have had from Malaysia, Vietnam, Nepal, Bangladesh, and Sri Lanka. So we have a residential facility as well. And we also had a short-term course, like a 3-month course for parents and caregivers on multiple disabilities. So that's the journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step, is what we always quote. And now let's go to all institutes employing persons with disabilities. Keep the following in mind. Now, this is pertaining to the RPWD Act. All about HK I have just covered in a nutshell. Now I will talk about the RPWD Act pertaining to particular corporates. This is a very, very simple PPT that I have made, which is very self-explanatory. Even if you read, you can make out, but I would still like to explain about it. Non-discrimination in employment, it's extremely important. होता कैसे है, हम लेने के लिए तो ले लेते हैं persons with disabilities, but then how do you deal with them? Yeah, sometimes, the most difficult barrier in a society can be what? Can we just make this a bit of an interactive session, if you don't mind? I just want to know a very, very small question. जो basic आपके दिमाग में है, what do you think is the biggest barrier for persons with disabilities? Anybody?
Not able to do normal tasks.
Okay. No, I'm talking about the barrier. See, there are different barriers for them. Okay. For example, if I have to say, they have a societal barrier. Society has a barrier, or they have mobility as a barrier. There are lot many things, but there is one thing which is the topmost. That's something which is because of which they have all the difficulties in life.
People are not ready and not consider them to work like
Exactly.
the normal people do, and that's why
Perfect.
they don't prefer to hire them.
Perfect. I would term it as, thank you, Kamal. Thank you so much. I would term it
Okay.
as attitudinal barrier. Okay. What you said in a nutshell, one word for that is attitude. Okay. जब तक हमारा एटीट्यूड रवैया चेंज नहीं होता है, nothing can happen. You get whatever inclusive policies, this, that, until and unless we don't see them as one of someone within us, things are not going to change, right? It's our attitude जो हमारे दिमाग में बैठा है, अरे ये क्या है, ये तो अंधा क्या करेगा. These are the statements that people say, अरे ये क्या है लंगड़ा, ये कैसे चल. No, it is not that way. You have to just give them some opportunity. That's it. They are really much, much better than us. Okay. So non-discrimination in employment. If you are an employer, you have to have these things in mind. Provide reasonable accommodation and appropriate barrier-free and conducive environment. Okay. It's not that for the sake of some percentage you have employed them and then you don't provide them reasonable accommodation. It's really unfair. No promotion shall be denied to a person merely on the ground of disability. This definitely comes under the RPWD Act. There are policies wherein it's very clear that a promotion cannot be denied to a person merely on his grounds of disability. Should not dispense with or reduce in rank an employee who acquires a disability during service. What do you understand by this statement? If anybody could tell me, like should not dispense with or reduce in rank an employee who acquires a disability? Come on, anybody? Kamal, would you like to tell? Or
Can you
anyone?
please explain more about this point so that we can share our opinion?
Should not dispense, this one which I'm talking?
Yes.
Yeah. I purposely I asked this question because I know there is something called as disability from birth and there is something called as acquired disability. Okay. What is acquired disability? Something that you acquire. You're not, by birth, you're not a person with disability. But due to some incident, maybe due to some accident, you have acquired this disability. So maybe per se, for example, I have been an employee and I have been working with Helen Keller, and I'm a regular person. I'm very sorry, I'm not using the word normal because it is technically not a correct word. In my next slide, you'll come to know that politically there are some terminologies which are allowed and which are not allowed as per the RPWD Act. So we say regular, okay, not normal. So anyways, so acquired disability comes to a person when something happens. So if I'm working with HCare, I'm a perfectly fine person and suddenly I meet with an accident or maybe some kind of rare disease. Now recently we have an example of Alka Yagnik. She got a very severe kind of viral infection in which she's 100% hearing disability she's got. So she's acquired hearing disability. And it is in the internal ear, it is in the sensory neural. So there cannot be anything that can be done. So now it is like for lifelong, she is going to be a hearing disabled person. So in that case, the company cannot dispense or reduce the rank of that person. Like first he was a manager and now suddenly you make him a peon. No, it is not. It is not allowed. You're violating the rules because it comes under the RPWD Act that you cannot dispense or reduce the rank. If they get a disability later on in stage when they are in force, like when they're working with you. Am I clear? Is it clear with you now?
Yes, understood.
Yeah. And if an employee after acquiring disability is not suitable for the post he was holding, then there shall be some other post with the same pay scale and service benefit. See, something has happened to them. Does anybody like being a person with disability? No. किसी ने शौक से तो नहीं करके लिया. So it becomes quite, it is not done that you just take away all their rights and position. Create a position for them, wherein according to their disability, they'll be able to do. You'll have to retain them, and keeping in mind that their pay scale and their service benefits should not be reduced. That's the rule from the RPWD. Okay. Then appointment of a grievance redressal officer. This is an extremely important point. Normally this happens in the government sector. It is imperative that they have a grievance redressal officer, because the percentage of appointing persons with disabilities in government sector is obviously, for obvious reasons, it's more, and it's evident because they have to follow the rules. So appointment of a grievance redressal officer is must, but even if in corporate sector, if it is done, it's excellent. Any person who is aggrieved with the non-compliance of the provisions may file a complaint with the grievance redressal officer. Now this comes under the advocacy part. There is something called as advocacy when it comes to persons with disabilities. Advocacy is altogether a very different topic, but having a grievance redressal officer is a part of that advocacy. So any person with disability having any kind of issue, non-compliance or whatever, he can straight away go to the grievance redressal officer. The officer has all the rights to take up action on that and, file a case or talk on behalf of the employee who is a PWD. Am I good to go? I mean, is it okay? I mean, are you all understanding? Or is it too confusing?
A bit confusing, but you may please carry on. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, because this topic is, hence I have made it like very small, but I understand for the first time it might really become, because it's too much of technicality in this. Now,
Absolutely.
certification of
Absolutely.
PWD employees is like, there has to be certain insurance schemes. Like when you have a person with disabilities with you, you should also have some insurance schemes for them. Then there are special provisions for persons with benchmark disabilities reservation. Let me explain you this point because this is extremely important. When do we call a person that he is a person with disability? There is a benchmark which has been kept. Not every person with any kind of disability is called a person with disability. He or she has to have a benchmark of 40%. This is very important. If you want to note down, you can please. 40% is the criteria. 40% and above, if you have a disability, you get a disability certificate from any government hospital. You have to undergo certain tests and everything, and only a government hospital doctors are certified to give you a disability certificate, without which you cannot avail of any concessions, any admissions, any kind of reservations, anything. But the benchmark reservation is 40%. So these special provisions, they have to be there in your office environment. Like if you keep a person with disability, if he has a disability certificate, more than 40%, like he might have 60 to 70% of disability factor, then there has to be a proper reservation for him. Okay. Then there are incentives given by the government. Okay. Especially this is done for the private sector to, maybe encourage them more to keep that certain amount of reservation for person with disabilities kept for in their workforce. So an employer is given an incentive from the government if they have that much number of percentage of PWD in their organization. Now comes accessibility, utmost important thing. You just cannot keep a person with disability with you and then सब कुछ भूल गए. चलो भाई हमने तो अपना काम कर लिया, अपना CSR हो गया, एक person with disability को रख लिया. No, there has to be an accessibility, access to transport, access to information and communication technology. Without information technology, IT is everything today. So the contents should be available in audio, print, and electronic media, and that too in that format, because suppose a person with visual impairment is there, but he has hearing. What happens is audio is the best thing for him. Braille is the best thing to him, larger captioning. If there are hearing impaired employees with you, whenever there is a session, there is a training, there is any kind of meeting, a sign language interpreter has to be there because they need to understand what is happening, what is being taught. Okay. So persons with disabilities have access to electronic media, by providing the description, sign language interpretation, and closed captioning. Closed captioning is something which we call when you write in bold letters and signages which are kept, which can be easily seen because people जो visually challenged है वो सिर्फ blind नहीं होते. There are again different parts of being blind. Some can be low vision, some can be totally blind. These are the two terms when we call a person is visually challenged. He cannot be, excuse me, he cannot be 100% visually challenged. He might be 100% visually challenged. He might be a low vision person. Okay. Electronic goods and equipment which are meant for everyday life and should be available in universal design. Universal design is something which allows, which is something a way of teaching or approaching where you have a concept which takes away the hurdles and everyone could, under each child can understand, each student can understand what is to be taught. So there is a universal design made. This was basically invented in the field of architecture. And then it was kept that certain designs or certain way of teaching should be so that each and everyone can understand. All existing public buildings shall be made accessible in accordance with the formulated by the central government within a period not exceeding 5 years, the date of notification of such rules. When you have a person with disability at your workplace, you should have particular things like there has to be a ramp, there has to be accessible toilets in your organization because they need all these things, right? If he is a wheelchair bound person, how will he get into a lift or how will they climb the stairs or not? So there has to be a ramp. I will come in detail in the next slide, but these are just the topics that accessibility is something which is very important. In my next slide, I will just show you that one of my team members, two of them actually, one who is deafblind and one who is hearing impaired, were invited for the recent audit of the Mumbai Metro, which happened just last Saturday at Santa Cruz Station, and they helped in letting the government know about their problems, how they face, how they travel. So the person who you are seeing in the picture, who's doing this ticket, is one of the member of my group. His name is Abbas. He is deaf-blind. He neither can see nor hear nor speak, but he has an amazing cognition. He travels all on his own from Oshivra daily, changing two metros, then from train, then he takes an auto, and that's how he reaches everything on his own. And he has a great sense of, he's too tech savvy, navigates through Google and everything. So technology is definitely a blessing. So this was very well made. We were very happy. I tried to inculcate one video, but somehow, I don't know, it's not playing. But this is how he had helped with the walking and the signages which were put, the metal detectors which were there for his smart cane. The cane that he is using is a smart cane, which immediately beeps and tells that there is some kind of hurdle here. And that's how he navigates. Okay. Now, these are some of the offenses and penalties. Penalties for causing mental or physical harm to PWD employees. For first contravention, be punishable with fine which may extend to 10,000 rupees, or any subsequent contravention with fine which shall not be less than 50,000, and this can extend to 5 lakh rupees also. And there have been cases in some of the organizations that had such kind of incidences where the grievance addressal officer has really taken, a note of this, and there have been people who had to pay such kind of penalties, which are quite heavy. So I have included only this RPWD points which are pertaining to the corporate world. Is this okay? Because I think more than this would really be too much to take for a day. Is this fine? Then I will be going to my next topic.
I think this is good for the first session, Sonali.
First
What you
session,
said.
right?
Yeah.
Because there are too many technical. These are the ones which are absolutely appropriate, which you should know as an employer that these things are there. Okay.
If
So-
your presentation is shareable, you can share with me later.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I'll do that. I'll
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah.
Now
please.
we are going to the disability etiquettes at the workplace. Okay, this is quite easy to understand, and it's nothing. It's the self-explanatory. It's the etiquettes at the workplace. Okay. Now these are the general etiquettes. We are finding it quite okay and easy because, you know, maybe we are used to it. We have become a part and parcel of their life. So if you observe me now also while talking, I'm using my hand so much. My kids literally tease me that every time you talk, you use your sign language. But, you know, maybe it has just, you know, it has been imbibed in us so much because there is something called as total communication. Total communication is wherein you use your hands, your facial expressions, your body language, your voice tone. So everything mil mila के एक communication बनता है. Because there might be people who can see you, but they can't hear you. For them, your body language, your facial expression does half of the work. Sometimes some hearing impaired people are very good at lip reading. So hence, while talking, if you see, if I talk to one of my team member who is profoundly hearing impaired, I have to talk like, see, I will do this much also, even if I don't sign, see what I'm doing. With he's extremely good at lip reading, so that helps. So when you have someone at your place who is differently able, probably a hearing impaired, it's not necessary you should know sign language. These are certain things which can help you. Like speak directly to the individual with disability. You know, sometimes it becomes quite offensive to them if you say like, "Arey," if the person is seeing, he might feel offended, might as well talk directly to them. Ask before you help. This is the most important point. Sometimes we just try to intend to just help someone even though they have not asked. Let me tell you, these people have lot of self-respect and they are always extremely independent. They don't like to be dependent because already they have a kind of a notion that, you know, they are disabled, they are physically disabled. So, you know, people look at them with a very pity kind of a, so they try to be as much as possible as independent. So it's better to ask them, may I help you? Is it okay if you want? Okay, shall I do this for you? Just then directly, okay, chalo, bahut baar aise hota hai. People just run. Oh my God, I'm seeing a blind person. Let me just hold his hand. Sorry, they are trained. There are various cane techniques. They learn orientation and mobility. So it's better to ask them rather than just hurting them. Okay? Always offer to shake hands. Avoid touching crutches, wheelchairs, or canes. Some people, out of curiosity, out of some inquisitiveness, they might just try to fidget around. I have seen myself people doing that. Don't do that. There might be some kind of arrangement which is there. Nowadays, the canes are extremely technical, you know, they are technologically very superior. They have the vibrators and all. If you just fidget with it and change some settings, it might be a trouble to the person using it. These are general. Be sensitive while speaking. Do not assume. Identify yourself to a person with vision impairment. This point is extremely important because a person doesn't see you. So identify is, there is something called as a name identifier, which we call, like, I am Sonali. But how do I tell a person that she is Sonali? He might hear, she might hear, but they have never seen how is Sonali. So for example, in my school, there is something called as a name sign. Okay, so while talking to a person with disability, every time we cannot keep on saying, the name or cannot keep signing. So there is something called as a name sign. I have a mole here. So this is S in sign language. So we do this with the tactile thing. When they touch our hand and they see that the hand is going here, they immediately know it's Sonali. So these are certain things which, of course, once you practice, you come to know. But with them, you also can have like a watch. The moment they touch your watch, they'll come to know, okay, this is Vinod, because Vinod wears this kind of a watch. With your particular, maybe a lady who's wearing some kind of particular bangle, a peculiar perfume, they are very, very sensitive when it comes to their, all other senses. So their olfactory, their gustatory, their tactile, amazing senses they have got. Treat adults like adults. If you just try to be too, like you're to an adult, you're saying, Are, do you want to do this? Don't show that sympathy and try to be like a child to them. Please don't do. They would not like it. Don't shout or pretend to understand. Don't distract or pet a guide dog. What is a guide dog? It is for a visually challenged person. This concept is not at all used in India. I have never seen a guide dog here, but this is a very, very famous thing in the Western countries, especially in the US and all. People with visual impairment have a guide dog. The dog is the dog is their sight seer, and they can, along with the help of the dog, it's not any pet or any toy to do. It's it's like a symbol or a signal for them to walk. Hearing impairment.
So it is not,
etiquette.
it is not a pet. So how they do this? We don't understand actually. I don't understand.
I didn't get you. I didn't get your
I'm just
question.
say the dog, the pets
Mhm.
you're talking about, right? So you said that they are what do you call, the trained dog, right?
Yeah, they're trained dogs, correct.
Yeah, so they are not pet. You're saying.
No. They are not pet dogs. No, they are indeed their pets, but along with being pet, they're trained dogs. No? And
Okay, so
over
they are
there,
helping them to guide the roads, right?
yes, exactly. So in that case, if we are going to distract the dog, some people have that habit no, of unnecessary going and playing with the dog or doing something or showing them. Definitely the dog might get distracted and it will be a problem to the person who is visually challenged, because for him, he is a guide. He is going to, cross the road or walk along the street because of and with the help of that dog. So, and there are clear signages that that's a guide dog, because in Western countries, it's quite, they have some kind of peculiar thing that the dog is put, I mean, they wear. And obviously, when you see a person with visual impairment, you always see the person with a cane and also maybe with the glasses or something on. So it's better not to fidget around with their dogs, because it is not a toy, but it is like a guide to them. Hence, you are not supposed to do that. It is violating, Now, use hand signals to gain attention, face the person directly. Now, this is for hearing impaired employees who have hearing impairment. Later on, I will go to employees who have visual impairment. So that was a general etiquette. Now, in fact, this is going to be more or less same, but little bit here and there. Use a normal tone of voice. Sometimes what we feel is the opposite person cannot hear. So unnecessary, some people while talking, they suddenly, like feel कि maybe उनकी जोर से बोलने से पता नहीं शायद अरे तुम कैसे कर रहे हो. That person is not able to hear, but there are some kind of vibrations that they can hear. If they are using their hearing machines, if with this kind of loud voice, there is an extreme vibration or a quirkiness which happens in their machine, because it's all through air. I mean, of course, everything is physics, everything is science. The vibrations go on a very harsh way, and it might be very difficult for them and very irritating for them. Hence, we have to always remember to use our normal tone while we talk to them. In a meeting, one person should speak at a time. This is all pertaining to when there are people with disability and especially hearing impairment person, specifically here. Because a person is going to talk and maybe there is a sign language interpreter who is going to sign. That's it. If suddenly, because it's a meeting, there is a possibility of 2-3 people talking together or discussing or debating. It's going to be a mere confusion to the person sitting there who is a person with hearing impairment. In workshops and conferences, have a sign language interpreter and allow the PWD to sit in the front row. It's quite a common sense because if they sit in the front row, they can without any hurdles see the sign language interpreter, because until and unless they don't understand what is happening in sign, they cannot understand what is the whole conference or the whole meeting happening about. They will be absolutely clueless. Okay. Speak directly to the individual, not to the interpreter. Later on, if there is something that you want to discuss, some people avoid that person and directly start talking to the interpreter. इसे पूछिए ना ये ऐसे ऐसे कैसे. No, you face and talk to the person. The interpreter's job, he or she will do of interpreting what you are trying to say. Visual emergency notifications. What is providing training videos with closed captions. Earlier when I had told that whatever is happening, if you have video clippings, though it doesn't have any audio because they cannot hear it, it's okay. But if you have a video happening over there with closed captions, they can read it and understand what's happening. Visual emergency notifications in a hall or in a room. If there is something, if you are going to put a fire alarm or something, they might not, because the people who are profoundly deaf, they cannot have any kind of vibration as well. So in that case, if there is any visual emergency, like some kind of red or a green light or something which blinks, or which is very important for them to understand that yes, there is some kind of emergency which has happened. Now next we go to wheelchair bound people, the etiquettes with them. It's some things are very common. Shake hands. In this, consider sitting down, kneeling to get yourself on the same level. This is the most important thing. A person sitting on wheelchair has a disability and it has a restriction with their mobility. That wo banda ya bandi will not be able to get up from their wheelchair on their own. In that case, isn't it better that we sit down or we kneel down and come to their level when we are talking to them? Because it really becomes very difficult that the person is sitting on wheelchair and you are standing and you're talking, and the person might have some more disabilities as well. So in that case, it's better to come to their level. Avoid patting a person on the head or touching his or her wheelchair, scooter, or cane. This is a very, very important thing. Bathroom breaks matter. Now, this is not only to wheelchair etiquette, wheelchair bound people, but for many. Here it is, this point is included because, can anybody tell me why is this important for them? This bathroom break matters. Because they are the one who will take a lot of time to reach to the washroom. They are the people who need a lot of help. By the time they go to the washroom, they sit on the commode, or, it's all time consuming. Hence, for them, giving bathroom breaks is really very important, because for them, it's not that bas gaye 2 minute mein aa gaye. It takes a lot of time to them. Do not move the wheelchair out of the reaching distance. Sometimes the person from the wheelchair might have sat on the chair and the wheelchair is there. आपने ऐसे ही घूमते घूमते यहाँ पे वहां पे you are loitering around and you just took the wheelchair, and now the wheelchair is far off from that person's chair. It is very difficult for them. They will be dependent on somebody to call and get back their wheelchair to their place. And please always be aware of the person's capabilities as well. Now, visually impaired etiquettes. Announce and introduce yourself when you enter a room. Now we are talking about visually impaired people, okay? They are not going to see, they cannot see. So when you enter into a room or a cabin particularly, and the person is doing some work, it's always better to say, hi Sonali, hi Vinod, I'm here. I'm Kamal here, I'm Shalaka here. The person knows, okay, fine, this person has come. Though they have a very, very sharp sense of hearing, or maybe their olfactory is too good, they can immediately make out from the perfume or anything that you wear. But the etiquette say that it's always good to announce or introduce yourself. Same thing again, speak directly, use a normal tone. Never leave a person who is blind in an open area. Sometimes it so happens, I've seen big organizations where we have lovely areas, the smoking areas or the cafeterias where you have open balconies, and you might just take your colleague who is visually impaired, ki, chalo, let's catch up with a cup of coffee, or let's have a smoke or something. You're gone with them, and then suddenly you just disappeared. You remembered I had to mail or medical. Yeah, please don't leave. That person might just, maybe if in an open area, it becomes difficult for them to have an orientation. If there is nothing to hold, which we call as trailing, if it is not there, and if he has come with you, leaving behind his or her cane in the room, how is he going to travel? So make sure that if you get someone with you, it's your job, it's your responsibility to again put the person back to their position. Verbally offer your assistant, like, pucho. Directly don't start doing things for them. They might not like it. Offer your arm, elbow, and use sighted guide techniques. Now, I am not going to explain this because we are running short of time, I believe. There are various techniques. As some time back, I told you that there are cane techniques which are used by persons who are visually challenged. But in a nutshell, if I have to say, it is always better to offer an arm and not a hand. Okay? It's always better to offer an arm, especially the elbow. We call this as a C grasp because this is like a C. So you offer your hand, the person who is visually challenged will grab your elbow in a C position because this is the firmest position, and you are the sighted guide for the person who is visually challenged. Offer this. This becomes very good. Not that the person is holding your back or you're holding your hand. That's not the correct way of a technique. Offer a description, like, we are going here, we are going to turn a right, now there are steps coming. Okay, beware of obstacles. Please indicate them earlier because a sighted guide is always ahead and a visually challenged person is always behind. Okay, there has to be a little bit of distance. So when you talk, when you say, now how do you do it with Abbas? Because he cannot even hear. In that case, my arm, I have to tap. I tap and I tell him, or else my pace, I immediately lessen my pace. He immediately understands that, okay, fine, there is some kind of an obstacle which is coming. Barrier-free design. This is how you should have in your offices. There are accessible entrances. Okay, you can see the ramp. Can I have a hello? I mean, I hope people are understanding and it's not really very boring. Is it okay? Is it understandable?
Yes, please carry on.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Accessible entrances, you can see the ramp. Easy access or directional signages, like there is a signage showing accessible toilet because it's written in Braille as well. So the person who is visual challenged can understand that. Working elevators. Elevators nowadays, everywhere in all the elevators, you have Braille signages on the numbers. Accessible bathrooms are this, which has those handles just next to the commodes, because these are extremely important for people who have locomotor disability, who have cerebral palsy, who are basically wheelchair bound people. Okay. Also, this additional point we had put thinking in mind, the food and beverages should be offered at appropriate height and reach ranges. We have normally seen that everywhere there is some kind of accessibility brought, but canteens is a place where we hardly see anything. The hotel areas, industries, though we have worked there as well, we have done a lot of presentations on sensitization. in airline industry and hotel industry, and everyone is coming up with such beautiful inclusivity. So certain tables, certain area, maybe a single table or two tables, kitne hi honge log at workplace who are people with disability. So even of one or maybe two tables, if they are kept according to their height, or maybe, in their reach, it will be really great and quite appreciated for people who have different kind of disabilities. Now, this is what I was trying to say sometime back, politically correct terminology. Now, this is not that Helen Keller has decided. This has been decided in the RPWD Act. What we have to avoid and what we have to use. You have to avoid the word normal and abnormal. अरे हम तो normal है ना, वो abnormal है. Sorry, it is not the way we have to, call them. Deaf and dumb or mute, no more allowed. It is hearing impaired. जैसे normal and abnormal, no, not allowed. It is typical or atypical, and a person with disability or without disability. Okay. Mentally retarded, that word has gone from our dictionaries. It is intellectual disability. And there is nothing called as spastic. It is now cerebral palsy. Okay, is this clear? Now, these are the benefits of inclusion. Look at that smile of our pretty star. This is pertaining, the picture is of course pertaining to school, but the topic or the benefit of inclusion is for everything. Let it be a corporate world, let it be education, or let it be any other art, drama, field, anything. Benefits of inclusion are definitely going to be common. PWDs can lead a dignified life, yes. Smooth transition to mainstream society. There are children from our school who have gone to mainstream school, and we feel so good. Maybe the ratio is very less, but still you should see the happiness of those children and the parents when their children start going in the mainstream school, when they are absorbed in the society. Cause awareness in prevention of disabilities. This will help in reducing the impact of disability, will empower the society as a whole, will help in holistic development of the system by improving the health, education, and economy, will lead a number of PWDs becoming contributing member of the society, help change the attitude of the society towards PWDs. So one act of inclusion will have all these benefits. I know it's very easy to say, it's better. It's very easily said than it's done. But then when we start, I'm sure within some years at least, India will definitely be on that kind of a level where we have a very great environment for people with disabilities, and inclusion would be the best thing happening. And we will definitely see a furthermore progressive India, with the Olympics and everything coming up for the physically challenged in all. Recently only, I think the team for the ladies team is ready for the girls who are visually challenged. So there will be a T20 or some match, if I'm not wrong. I've just read somewhere. So they will be, actively having a team of visually challenged girl in the T20 series. And also, these are great signs. These are great examples of inclusion, because they also have all the right of playing, of acting, of dancing, of learning, of being educated. Everything is possible if we just give them love, understanding, empathy, and we just treat them as one of us. So with this, I would like to thank with the beautiful quote that access is a practice of love when it is done in service of care, solidarity, and disability justice. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. And thank you for being patient and listening to me, though it was a bit of a boring session, I feel, but then somehow the topic is that way. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. This was a bit different for a lot of us,
Okay.
as we honestly, I would say we consider ourselves normal, but then, I mean, this is the reality, truth.
True.
But
true.
this is something like an eye opener, I would say. For the first time, it is a bit confusing also. But then I think this really was important. Thank you so much.
Very good. Thank you. Even if it has made a 0.01% of change in your thought process, I would be really grateful to Vinod for asking me do this session, because that's how the change will happen. Change is inevitable, but it has to, somewhere there has to be a first time, right? Maybe now you haven't understood, but maybe after a couple of days or a couple of sessions, you might really understand. Now you will at least have a thought that, okay, there is this kind of, the perspective might change. That
Absolutely. So we may have noticed the braille on the lift buttons, but
yes,
maybe we've never understood them. Now
correct.
so it does make an impact. It does leave a thought behind. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you so much. My pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you, Vinodji.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you, Sonali.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much. Yeah.
Do give a feedback, and we
Yeah,
are
please share
there.
the PPT also. We'll be
Yes,
sharing the recording to all the members as well as
Yes,
the PPT.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. I'll be doing that, and we are always there, available, open in case of any queries. If you have anything to ask us, you can drop a mail.
Yeah, I think people based in Mumbai can also take opportunity to visit anytime if they want.
Yes, please.
Because Prashant, like what you mentioned, what we are hearing here is only about a very fraction of what we can
Yes.
probably see in 10 minutes.
Yes.
Yes.
So you're always welcome, and HPI is always open for people to come and visit us and see our beneficiaries actually working, learning, doing things. So you can have a closer look to their life, and maybe you'll understand more.
Thank you, Sonali. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you.
Welcome. Bye-bye.